Hi, good evening. Charlie, can you hear me? Charlie, I think your mic's muted. Can you unmute your mic for me?
How's that?
There we go.
Okay.
How are you tonight?
We're in business. I'm doing well, Erin. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Good.
So, Charlie, this is my first time to do one of these broadcasts, and I'm so happy it's with you because this is going to be a great learning experience for me. So, my name is Erin Baber. I'm the Garland County Library's PR and Marketing Coordinator, and I'm here tonight with Charlie Moore, the founder of the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project. And I think tonight we're going to talk about the Arkansas Heritage Festival coming up this weekend, right?
That's part of it.
Okay, well, great. I've got some questions for you, and I think you might have a few for me, but I'm just going to take your lead on this. You're the man of the hour, so.
Okay. Well, no, I think we do have a really good program planned for tonight. And yes, Erin, a little surprise for our guest tonight is I will have an interview of Erin and find out a little bit about Erin, and we'll try to check and figure out where in the world Paul is tonight too. So, no, as she said, tonight we're going to preview the first annual Arkansas Heritage Festival, which will be held this Friday and Saturday at Hot Springs Village. It will all be held in the area of the Woodlands Auditorium and the Grove Park Theater. This is going to be like a mini World's Fair. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to go through the schedule, and I'm actually going to tell you which acts are worth going to and which ones you might just, you need to go get a popcorn or a cold drink or something like that. So we're gonna have a little fun with this tonight. Erin, I don't know if I've got my high-tech thing here to show. If anyone has any questions, you can actually email that site tonight, and we'll be monitoring that. And also Erin has a way of you asking questions directly to her. This website or this email address also, if you'll say you want to join the list, we will keep you up to date. We have over 250 folks right now that are on this list, and that's how they keep up with when live events are going on or when we have these virtual events. So let me pause there just a second and see if if anything came to your mind, Erin, that I need to cover before we jump right into this.
I just wanted to say that I left a comment on our Facebook video and the YouTube video if anybody wants to ask any questions or have any comments for Charlie. And I also dropped a link into a YouTube playlist that's got the previous Arkansas Highlands Folk Project videos. So if you want to know what else Charlie and the Folk Project's been up to, you can go to that YouTube link and watch all the other ones.
Yes, you can make a marathon of that and just stay up all night watching us talk about old time music. Well, tonight, here's the way we're going to do it. Tonight, Erin and I are going to talk about the program. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on at the festival. There's going to be food and drink and all the ordinary festival stuff, but we're going to go into some details so that you will have some idea of what to expect and hopefully to attend. The organizers, Nancy Hendrick and Larry Wilson, have done a wonderful job of securing a lot of entertainment. There's music all day Friday, which will be old time music, my favorite music. And there will be more contemporary old time or country music or heritage music on Saturday. And then Saturday night, there's a concert, and it's going to be a dandy. It is a ticketed concert in the Woodlands Auditorium, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. And that's one you really don't want to miss. And if you are, we'll talk about it, but it may be sold out by the time the event comes around. So we'll talk about that. Before we get started on that, I got a call from the Ozark Folk Center this afternoon. They received an email from us showing that we were having our program tonight, and they wanted me to mention a event that's coming here, which brings the point. Old time music is unique, and Mountain View, Arkansas, the home of the Ozark Folk Center, is the base, the what we call the world's capital of old time music. And on October the 15th and 16th, mark your calendars, they're having their String Band Music and Arts Festival. And they've got quite a lineup. Their headliner is the Hog Slop String Band.
That sounds fun.
Oh, for those who have watched our other programs, or actually at least came to the live programs last year, we talked about the Hog Slop String Band on several occasions. They're one of the most energetic. They're pretty raw, but they are fun. And if you are a dancer, it doesn't make any difference how good or bad you dance. You can't refuse to dance to that band. They'll be performing a matinee and a evening performance on Saturday the 16th. So you might mark both of those days down. And as you know, there are cottages and cabins and all kind of accommodations in Mountain View. It's a great place to take the family, spend the weekend, and have a blast with their string band music. Also, during that period, they're going to have Taller Than You will be performing, and that's one of the bands we featured on one of our virtual programs earlier this year. And Grace Stromont was also featured on that. And let's see, Lucas and Eden Poole, I think we featured them on that a little bit too. So there's several of the ones that you've already seen if you've been paying attention to our programs. Anyway, let's put that aside.
And if you haven't seen them, you can go watch that YouTube link and get familiar with them.
Exactly. That's right. That's a great idea. Yeah. Let's see. Well, let's get into the festival this weekend. It starts at 9:45. The Lieutenant Governor will be down here at 9:45 to kind of cut the ribbon and welcome everybody. But the actual, and I hope he doesn't take over 15 minutes because that's when the music starts. But you know how politicians are, they might take a little longer. In any case, there's 3 venues that's going to have something going on almost all day, both days. And that's what gets complicated is you've got to pick which performance you want to go to.
Right.
And there is a program that if you'll Google Arkansas Heritage Festival and go to their website, there's a program that you can actually print off that would have all of these. Anyway, let's see. On Friday, in the Woodlands Auditorium, they're going to have pretty much a lecture series for the most part. Arkansas teachers will get continuing education credit for attending these programs, and actually the folks that keep track of that will be there to make sure you do get your credit. So Friday, you're probably going to be in school, but Saturday you can get over and get several hours of continuing education. 10 o'clock, Holly Hope with the Arkansas Historical Preservation. Now this is a fantastic subject. I don't know her, but it's about the symbols on tombstones in Arkansas. And I never paid that much attention. I knew they were on there, but I didn't know what they meant. So I'm looking forward to catching up with her and seeing that.
I actually saw her give that presentation once at a library conference, and it was fascinating.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I recommend it. It was good.
Good. Okay. So the first one we recommend. Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on. Let's see. Who is this? Janice Kearney. It's My Arkansas Journey, and her program describes her journey from a large family of sharecroppers to the White House and the publishing world. And she's been involved with President Clinton and various other folks. And it's just reading the bio, to me, any kind of success story kind of turns me on to see people that are coming through very hard, difficult times and making something good out of that. And this is what Janice is doing in that program. So again, that's at 11 o'clock on Friday. 12 o'clock, Dr. Sam Taggart, Country Doctors of Arkansas. And for Aaron, probably don't even know what a country doctor is, but back in my generation, the guys, and you didn't always have to go to the doctor. The doctor came to your house, had a little black bag.
Okay.
They worked 7 days a week. Sometimes their offices were in their homes. Well, Dr. Taggart is has written a book, Country Doctors of Arkansas. And it's about rural health care back in the day when doctors were a bit different than they are today. Not taking anything away from today's doctors, but the next one is Terry Diggs at 1 p.m. on Friday. Terry Diggs, who is a local attorney and who is probably our only preservation folklorist local here, and he grew up in Lonsdale 40 years I tell you, but he's over 40. Terry, sorry, over 40. But he grew up here, and he tells stories and sings songs about the Ouachita Mountains. And he puts on a wonderful program, has put on programs for the Historical Society on several occasions. You don't want to miss him. So he's another one you want to go to. Next, Rex Nelson. Most everyone knows Rex Nelson. He's the senior editor at the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. He's a great friend of Hot Springs. I've attended a number of Rex's programs, and no matter what the subject, no matter how serious or ones that offer concern, you're going to walk away feeling better about the topic. And his topic is a state of disaster. And I'm just going to leave it like that. But you don't want to miss Rex's take on that. Arkansas apparently has had a history of disasters, everything from natural to man-made, that he's going to delve into. The next person is the Arkansas PBS is going to view a award-winning documentary, and it's going to highlight Little Rock's West 9th Street. It was an African-American community that was prosperous and thriving, and through the years it deteriorated, and this is a history of the good people of that area that we want to showcase in this video. Now, that's all on Friday in the auditorium. Okay, let's jump over to the music at the same time.
Wow.
Friday.
What a roster.
Oh, I tell you, that's what I say. You need to print this off so that you can kind of circle what you want to do and not miss anything.
I added a link to the website too. So there should just be a quick link on the Facebook event post here. So
okay, so they can just click it and go to the page. Go
to the Heritage Page Festival and then go download the program.
Okay. And the program, as I recall, might be a little bit, I think you may go to home and there's a drop-down menu somewhere there that will let you print the whole thing, or you can print the stage or the auditorium or the tent, and we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, we're back to Friday. First thing in the morning, right after the Lieutenant Governor finishes his chit-chat, Ken Tillery, a local person who I consider a master finger picker guitarist. And he is he's just a really nice young man. He has studied under a number of artists, and he is going to be playing ragtime and things that probably started in the mid 1800s, and probably the last he'll cover is the early 1930s. So that genre during that period, which is part old time music, it's kind of the most modern of old time music. He's gonna perform and talk about that on the Grove Park stage. Now, the Grove Park stage, for those that have not attended, it is outdoors. You do need to bring your own chair. There will be food and drinks, and quite frankly, there may be beer and wine, but there will be Cokes and water, and it should be a good time. There's plenty of shade. It's probably going to be warm in August, but there's plenty of shade and picnic tables and things like that. So plan ahead, bring a blanket, bring the kids, the grandkids, your friends, and just make a day of it and have a great time. Incidentally, all of this is at no charge. You do need a ticket to get into Hot Springs Village because it's a gated community, and those are provided free. If you don't have one and need one, you can either email Arkansas. You can either email us and I'll send you one, or I don't know, Aaron, if you have access to them or not, but that might be an easy way.
Yeah.
In any case, Ken Tillery will be performing from 10 until 11, and we want this to be interactive. If you have questions about any of his songs or any of the comments he makes, we want you to come away with a good education about this too. Which brings up another point. The mission of the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project is to entertain, educate, and preserve the Old Time Heritage Festival. So our presence at the Arkansas Heritage Festival just was a perfect fit for us. We've been working with Erin for a number of years, and she's been our promoter and has kept me out of trouble a number of times. So she's a wonderful person to have on our team. after Ken, excuse me for that, the Rackensack Society, it's called the Rackensack Folklore Society, will perform for an hour. There will be 10 or 12 folks from the Rackensack Society, which is home is in Little Rock, and they've been going on for since 1963. And for those who are a little older than Aaron, probably a lot older than Aaron, if you remember the cartoonist for the Arkansas Democrat, or excuse me, this was before combined, the Arkansas Gazette, George Fisher actually was one of the founding members of the Rackensack Society, and he was very active in it in those early years. In fact, he was active in it until until later. Okay, the next band, that's a must. So far, those are must sees. This next act, where is that? Okay, the next performance, this one's a little iffy, and I don't know if you want to waste your time with them or not, but it's called the Arkansas Highlands String Band, and the band is wonderful. Quite frankly, 3 out of the 4 I would consider some of the best performers of old-time music. Tom Sartain, Jenny Sartain, and Judy Warner. Tom and Jenny perform at the Ozark Folk Center. It's a guitar banjo duo. Judy is actually a violinist and fiddle player and teaches at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And the 4th one is a guy named Charlie Moore, and he's the one that you just never know what's going to happen. So look out for that one. But seriously, we're going to have a great time. It's going to be fun, and we're going to share some of the tunes that we like, and that we hope that you will enjoy those too. Okay, this goes on and on. Should we abbreviate this, Aaron, or are we hitting?
I don't know. I'm enjoying this. I want to write down the name of that last one you said though, with that guy Charlie Moore. Okay. I don't want to miss that one. That's the Arkansas.
Don't miss the Arkansas Highlands String Band. Yes, that's it. That's right.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Warning. Okay, now the tent. Okay, we've got the auditorium. 700 seat auditorium, state of the art. I was out there today talking with their technology people. I mean, it is a wonderful venue, and we're certainly fortunate to be using it. Actually, the Beach Boy tribute band is playing there Thursday night, and it's already sold out, I understand. But they have some really great entertainment out there. And one warning, too, about the folks who have not been to Hot Springs Village before. Once you get in the gate, you got to have the ticket. Once you get in the gate, don't drive over 45. Be careful about the speed limit. But once you're in there, you may never want to leave. It's a beautiful retirement area. If you like golf or pickleball or hiking or fishing or just socializing with folks, it's just a wonderful place. And you may want to talk to somebody about looking at some property out there. And they have events like this all the time. Okay, we're back to the tent. There's a tent that will be set up in the parking lot right next to the Woodlands Auditorium. And on Friday at 11 o'clock, the Village Choral will perform for 30 minutes. After that, Charlie Mink's Celtic Trio will be performing from 12:30 to 1. Charlie is also from Mountain View originally, and has moved to Hot Springs with his wife Susie, and he is really a connoisseur, I guess you would say, of Celtic music, and he plays the mountain dulcimer and the harmonica. He's very multi-talented, sings a bit, so don't miss Charlie Mink and the Charlie Mink Celtic Trio. At 1:30, there's the Hot Springs Village Players, and I think they've got some kind of skit planned for you. And then at 2:30, and this is one that I don't know, but I've heard that they're going to be very entertaining as well. It's called Charlie and Stu. So that'll be our mystery act that you probably don't want to miss because it's probably going to be good. Okay. That's about it on Friday. That takes care of Friday. Now let's go back to, are you keeping up with me?
No. I'm going to have to go download the program.
Oh, and on top of this, there are over 40 vendors there. And I'm talking about educational vendor or education, vacation, service people, food, quilts, and it goes on and on. It's crystals. Yeah, it just goes on and on. So there's no lack of activities to keep you busy while you're there. Plenty of parking. The parking lot at the Woodlands will accommodate a good number of folks, and there are other parking lots at that intersection that you can use as well. Okay, let's go to Saturday. Saturday in the auditorium. I will try to speed this up a little bit, but I don't want to miss anything because these are all good programs. Linda Pennington Black. This is really great timing for Linda. It's called the Negro Baseball League and its connections to Arkansas. With Hot Springs focusing on the baseball trail and all the activities going on around the new baseball complex that's going in, her program is really going to fit right in for any baseball fans and those who have been keeping up with Steve Arison and his effort to promote the Hot Springs area as a very special place in baseball history. So don't miss Linda Black's program at, good Lord, 9 a.m. You have to come a little earlier on Saturday. Okay, 10 o'clock. Here's another one. This is another not to miss. David Hill, author of
The Vapors.
Tell us about it.
Oh, I can't even remember the whole title. It is a long title, but it is a wonderful book. We've had David do a few talks for the library that you can find on our YouTube page if you're interested in seeing previous talks. But he writes about his family's history in Hot Springs and the gambling scene, and it's quite fascinating. Have you read it?
I sure have, and it is,
yeah.
Yes. And it's my understanding that one of the major streaming networks may have picked up the rights to produce a series.
I've heard that.
Based on that. And good Lord, the history of Arkansas and the gangsters and all the shenanigans that were going on, it ought to make a great show.
Oh, yeah. And I love the way that David writes it. He's just so it's so easy to read. It's
one of those, great book. You just can't put it down. And being from Hot Springs, you recognize a lot of the locations and the names that he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is really cool. Okay, the next one's at 10 o'clock, and here's that Charlie Moore and Ken Tillery are going to show up again. And this time it's going to be a little more historical with half of it. I will be talking a little bit about the history and sharing some, with the technology that we have, we're going to share some videos that are examples of the history and things that I would like for you to take away from our program. Ken's half is actually going to be him playing and talking about his experience with various artists that he has studied under, and I've sat down with him on several occasions that I can't get enough of it because it's just the folks that he has studied with are like so many in that genre, the old time genre. They just take you under their arm and you end up staying with them, and they just teach you anything and everything and spend all the time in the world. He has some great stories to tell about that and some wonderful music to share in the auditorium Saturday at 11 a.m. Okay, let's move on. Okay. At noon, Lisa Carey will have a program on the Arkansas heritage in courts, and she is actually the daughter of Ron Coleman. The Ron Coleman family has the mining, but her presentation will focus on quartz crystals. But it's going to have a basic history of crystals, and this has turned into a very large industry in this neck of the woods. A lot of the crystals are shipped off overseas and throughout the world from our area, and a lot of times we don't realize the impact that our precious crystals have on the world. So Lisa's going to share that story. Another one of my favorites, Liz Robbins. We'll talk about.
Liz is great. She's is she the executive director for the Garland County Historical Society? Mm-hmm. She's done so many wonderful programs with the library and coordinated. She is the go-to person for any Arkansas or Hot Springs history questions.
She is, and she never tiring on working on these projects, and she'll have a wonderful program. And hers is actually her focus is the contribution of Hot Springs tourism heritage and how that plays in with their mission, preserving Hot Springs history. Finally, Butch Bennett, and this ought to be another interesting one. Like I say, they're all, you don't want to miss any of them. His is the history of Hot Springs Village, and Hot Springs Village really does have a interesting history. I, as a child, remember when it was not there. and now it is a booming retirement community with more amenities than you can imagine. And he's lived there for 49 years, so I think he's going to have a pretty good take on it, and he's going to share his stories of working with Fay Jones in the early days. Fay Jones is a famous architect, of course, and he said he's going to make us proud of Hot Springs Village and Arkansas with his presentation, and I think that'll be a really good one too. Okay, that's the Woodlands Auditorium. Now then we're going to go over to where we're going to go? Oh, the stage.
There we go.
The stage, okay. On Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Boy, they're starting early again. The Common Ground Band will be performing there. It's another artist on tour program that the Arkansas has. Actually, you have to audition to be listed on that, and they're a part of that. That's a bluegrass country band. Mike Bearden. He grew up listening to the Beatles and all of that, but now he is a guitar player and excellent. He's at 11 o'clock. And again, this is a little more contemporary than what we're going to play on Friday. This will be a little more contemporary, the music on Friday is the roots music, and the music on Saturday is the next step of the roots music. So it's just kind of a transition from the early hillbilly mountain music that had they had no desire to be commercial. And then in the 20s, when the recorders became and radio came about, folks found out, well, I think I can make some money off of this. And it changed the complexion of the music. And this is kind of picking up with that there. Another one of my favorites at 1 o'clock, Jacob Flores. You want to talk about him?
Oh, Jacob. He's worked here at the library for 10 years, I guess now. He is fantastic. Have you seen his new music video?
No.
Oh, it's wonderful. He just debuted it, I think, last Friday, and I saw that it has like 30,000 views. He's going somewhere. I'm so proud of him.
Oh, he really is. I remember a number of years ago, it was a birthday party for one of my grandchildren. I bet it was 10 years ago. A little boy. We were eating at Salsa's Mexican food place, and this little boy, well, he was a teenager, I guess, an early teen, started playing and singing, and oh my gosh, that kid is good. Yeah. That was Jacob. And he's really been a positive influence on a lot of people in Hot Springs. Just a gentleman. That's what he is.
Absolutely, he's a fantastic person. I'm glad to know him.
Yes. Willing to help anybody out. I mean, I've always impressed with him. And on a little sad note, Buddy Case and Casey Penn were scheduled to perform, and Buddy had a health issue in the last day or two, and they will not be able to perform, but we should keep our prayers, keep Buddy Case in our prayers as he's recuperating from his situation. Okay, where are we? The 10th?
Yeah, I think so.
We're getting close, folks. And then we're going to have a 9-minute video that will feature some old-time music and some history that I think you will enjoy. Plus, we have the secret interview of Aaron Baber.
Ooh.
Okay. At the on Saturday morning in the tent, the Village Choral Group will again perform at 9:30. Charlie and Stu will perform at 10:30. The Hot Springs Village Players at 11:30, and Charlie Mink's trio at 1 o'clock. So you got 2 days to be able to catch those acts. Okay. Now then, the finale is on Saturday night. It's $25, I believe, is the ticket price, and you can go to Google Woodlands Auditorium, and somewhere on there it'll have the ticket place. But it's the grand tour, a night of classic country music, and it's Gil Gerard. Gil is an award-winning talent and songwriter from Nashville, and he has put together a 90-minute program. They're going to dress the part of all the country music folks, and you're going to be hearing the likes of George Jones, Ray Price, Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, Kenny Rogers, and many, many more. It ought to be a great evening to finish off this wonderful first annual festival. So that's where we are. Any questions or anything coming up on your end?
I don't see anything yet. If anybody's got any, be sure to comment them.
Okay, let me glance at mine real quick, and then I'll tell you, why don't we do a little interview question? Let me find my questions for you. They're pretty tough.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. Am I answering as me or as Paul, since I'm filling in for Paul?
Well, where in the heck is Paul?
Well, I am super proud of Paul. He was accepted into the Leadership Hot Springs class. So do you know much about Leadership Hot Springs?
I do know a little bit about Leadership Hot Springs. That is quite an honor. In fact, I think you have graduated from that.
I went through the program. I was class of 31.
19, you don't look nearly that old. What year was that?
In 2017. We were the 31st class to go through.
Yeah, okay.
So Paul, yeah, so it's been going on, and I think Paul's probably on about year 34 now.
Did they do one did they do an abbreviated one or not one at all?
I don't think they did one at all last year. But Paul's gonna just make so many contacts with people across the community. He already knows a ton of people from doing library programs, and he's out there tonight with the kickoff kind of mixer, get to know you. So yeah, I'm proud of him.
Yeah,
he's gonna get a lot out of it.
He will. That's a great program. Chamber of Commerce, I believe, still sponsors that, don't they? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. Here's the first question for you.
Okay.
What is your role at the Garland County Library? What do you do?
My title is PR and Marketing Coordinator. That means that I do all of our advertising and I run our social media pages. I help maintain our website and just try to get the word out about the library and new things that are coming up. And it's a lot of stuff goes on at the library. It's a lot to talk about.
Erin and I have worked together for 3 or 4 years since the Arkansas Highlands Project started, and you helped name it. We sat in a room here 3 or 4 years ago and put together our initial plan, and you've been very instrumental in this being a success. And the library, that's going to bring up my next question, but the library is involved in so many positive things for Hot Springs, and the staff is just unbelievable to help folks like me kind of reach those goals. Okay, what is your favorite part of your job? What do you like? What's the best part of it? I might ask you what's the worst part of it, but I better not.
Yeah. The best part, though, I really like creating the content that goes out. Like I really like making flyers and posters and putting together videos. That's my favorite. I'm a creative type, so I like creating the content. I'm not as good at writing the radio ads or the newspaper ads, but that's just part of it.
Yeah, and the poster that came up at the beginning of our program, and the one we're going to use on the screen out at the village, Erin created that. She does a really good job on that. Anything in the future of the library or your future that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I was looking forward to a bunch of programs we had coming up. We were going to do our first Hot Springs Book Festival, and unfortunately, we've had to postpone that till spring. But we were going to have David Hill talk about the Vapors at the Vapors, which would have been so cool. But we're hoping to revisit that in the spring. We do have a lot of really exciting things coming up at the library. I'm not going to talk about it in depth, but we are looking at some big changes coming up. We're growing, and it's a great thing.
Well, you do so much already, and I think in an earlier conversation this evening, Erin shared that the Garland County Library is the third most busy library in the state, or somewhere like that.
Yeah, we're up there. We're one of the highest used libraries, biggest contributors to you use our ebooks on Overdrive and Libby.
Yes.
Yeah, so we joined what's called the Arkansas Digital Library Consortium in last year, actually. So our ebook selection went from about 20,000 to over 85, and our patrons are one of the highest users of this entire statewide consortium. It's pretty fantastic. And the pandemic, it closed our doors for a little while, but we're open again. And what we lost in physical foot traffic and physical book checkouts, we've gained in digital.
Well, and that's all I use now, and I probably read more books now than I ever have because it's so easy to pick to use your Kindle, and I'm a Kindle person. If somebody doesn't know quite how to do that, is there anyone here that could kind of walk them through what equipment they need or something like that?
Yeah, actually, we just added, and I've not even talked about this publicly yet. So this is like a premiere on our website now. If you go to if you go to gclibrary.com, and then over on the side, there's like a connect here, and there's some options. So downloadables will take you to like our ebooks and audio and downloadable audiobooks. And there's another tab that says show me how, and it's got tutorials on how to use just about all of our digital services.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
Yeah, it's going to be, if you go to our website, if on the right side of the screen, it's going to be like a show me how tab.
Okay.
And you click on it, and like some of our digital services like Overdrive or Creative Bug, we have consumer reports online and Newsbank. All that might not mean anything to you right now, but if you go over to that website and click that show me how, those tutorials are going to walk you through step by step how to use those services.
Okay. Obviously, Erin's technologically advanced. If you are like me and maybe not quite that technologically advanced, I bet you can call and someone will tell you what to do.
Absolutely. Come on in and we can help you out. And since we're speaking about an event that's going on in the Hot Springs Village, I want to remind everybody that we do a free delivery service now to just about everywhere in the county. So every Tuesday, James drives one of the library vehicles all the way through the Hot Springs Village, bringing people books and movies directly to their house, and it's free.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best. Y'all offer one of the best services around, so that's great. Okay, moving right along. Anything else you want to add?
I've got a few questions for you, but we could save them till after this this video.
We might save them till everybody falls asleep. Okay. I'm just wanting to make sure I hit all of those things. Okay, the video is coming up in just a second. This video is by a gentleman by the name of Chris Hay, and the question has come up time and time again, and we've touched on it time and time again. What is the difference between old-time music and bluegrass music? And as I've mentioned before, there's a big difference. I mean, the old-time music was the earliest music, and then came early country music when the recording industry, and then that evolved into bluegrass when Earl Scruggs played the banjo the way he does. And in any case, this 9-minute video is probably the best explanation of the difference between old time and bluegrass. And you have to it's one of these you have to pay close attention to because he's covering a lot of material, and this may be one you have to rewind and if you're that interested, and listen to it again. But it really, you know, just like anything else, everybody won't agree with his take on it, but it's a good starting point. So if you want to, why don't we just go ahead and hit the button and play that 9-minute video, and we'll come back and wrap this up.
Sounds good. Hold on just a sec.
What's the real difference between old time and bluegrass? This question is often asked, and it usually gets a fairly short, trite answer, including the name of Bill Monroe and the date of 1945. However, by delving deeper into the similarities and differences between these two related musical forms, we can learn a great deal about both and flag up some surprising traits which go to the very heart of a musician's character and motivation. To the general public, the terms old time and bluegrass are pretty well synonymous. Old American music involving banjos, fiddles, possibly some cowboy hats. Lively, honest, down-home music representing the good old days before mortgages, computers, and 6-lane highways. The most common misconception is that bluegrass is as old as the hills. So much so that when I was writing the bluegrass chapter of the Fiddle Handbook, my editor refused point blank to believe that bluegrass was in fact younger than the atomic bomb, and I ended up having to sidestep the question. So first of all, let's talk about the history. Old-time music started with the first settlers who brought instruments from England, Ireland, and Scotland in the 17th century. Many of them took to the hills, ending up in the Appalachian Mountains, living in small, isolated communities where, by the same process described by Darwin and his finches, the music began to diverge from its transatlantic origins, gradually becoming distinctly American, despite maintaining many of the original song, tune, and dance forms. African-American musicians had a particularly strong influence in reshaping the music, bringing the ancestor of the banjo from Africa, adding a strong element of syncopation and bringing the expressivity and fluidity of blue notes to old time. The music was unself-conscious and practical, with musicians playing for dancers, for communal events, and for their own enjoyment. Few musicians would have been professional, and there was no particular name for the music. Things changed slowly until the birth of the recording industry in the early 1920s, when suddenly a commercial and marketing element became involved. The music now evolved rapidly as record companies searched frantically for new artists, new songs, and new formats. One of the first problems to be dealt with was what to call this music. The term most widely used within the industry was hillbilly, which came with some powerfully negative connotations, as shown by this definition from Variety magazine in 1926. The hillbilly is a North Carolina or Tennessee and adjacent mountaineer type of illiterate white. Theirs is a community all to themselves, illiterate and ignorant, with the intelligence of morons. Clearly, as a marketing term, this would leave something to be desired. In a rare display of sensitivity, they decided that what was needed was some term that showed respect towards the sense of history, continuity, and old-fashioned values which this music appeared to represent. Among the terms tried out were old-fashioned, old familiar, hill country, and old time. This then was old-time music, but we can already see that to define the music in terms of record company marketing from the late 20s and early 30s is problematic. Commercially recorded old-time music represents just a fraction, and arguably a very unrepresentative fraction, of the entirety of centuries of musical history. Fiddle and banjo were the key instruments, but guitar, mandolin, bass, autoharp, and a selection of other instruments was also common. As a style, old time was loose and diverse and could range anywhere between a solo fiddle and a string band with vocals. In contrast to this broad and rather vague collection of musical groupings, gradually changing over centuries, bluegrass is far more specific in its origins and definition. It was a significant step in the evolution of old-time music, specifically the very commercially orientated vision of mandolinist-singer Bill Monroe. He was one of the countless rural Southerners who left home in the Depression years to seek work in the towns and cities. He was eager to make a name for himself in music. Key to the new sound was the banjo of 21-year-old Earl Scruggs from North Carolina. This was no ordinary banjo player. Scruggs had perfected a style of three-finger picking which allowed him to combine a high-speed rolling rhythm with melody, producing one melody note out of every three. Old-time players had used open-backed instruments and used a right-hand technique known as frailing or claw hammer, with the fingers brushing down on the strings. Bluegrass banjo players in the Scruggs style use instruments with a resonator at the back and play harder, louder, and faster. For old-time instrumentalists, there are many detailed features of the music which are valued for their archaic quality, which set them deliberately aside from modern commercial musical norms. Crookedness, for example, where odd beats or bar lengths occur in a tune, are treasured instead of being ironed out. Neutral notes, a precious leftover from before the tempered scale was introduced, are not merely tolerated but valued by fiddle players. Use of cross-tuning or scordatura, anathema to any bluegrass player, is almost universal among old-time fiddle players, and modal tunes remain popular. Difficult keys such as E and B, common in bluegrass, are rarely heard, and most tunes will be in G, D, or A. For fiddlers, bowing is rhythmic, with lots of shuffles and syncopations, and many separate bows. By contrast, for bluegrass fiddlers, smoothness is paramount, with lots of long bows and slurs. Old-time fiddlers rarely go above first position, while bluegrass players are expected to play freely up and down the neck. There's also a much greater stress on clear tone and smooth vibrato in bluegrass, while in old time a rougher, more down-home sound is often more appropriate. There's a tendency to think, and I have to admit being guilty of this myself, that old time is simply easier than bluegrass, but that betrays an ignorance of the true essence of old time music. I put this to Tatian Hargreaves, an outstanding young fiddler who straddles both camps, and she told me, "It's very much an oversimplification to consider old time fiddle easier than bluegrass. There are so many nuances to both styles. A lot of bluegrass fiddlers don't have the drive and the groove that old-time fiddlers have, and that's equally as challenging as the virtuosity of bluegrass playing." Both bluegrass and old-time are participatory as well as spectator sports. For every professional player, there's a host of amateur pickers happy to travel across the country, watch some performances, take a few classes, and then spend countless hours in jam sessions. It's probably here at the grassroots, largely free from commercial pressure, that we can get the clearest idea of the true nature of the two styles. The nature of jam sessions is very instructive when it comes to differentiating between old time and bluegrass. A bluegrass jam is about strutting your stuff. Everyone except bass players is expected to, or at least encouraged to, take solos, either for a turn around an instrumental or between verses of a song. The song or tune is a vehicle for self-expression and improvisation. Fiddlers in particular have to master a number of different roles within a band or session, alternating between rhythm or filling in between vocal lines, and always being alert for the opportunity of stepping forward to take solos. Musicians will hungrily watch one another, eager to pick up a new hot lick they can use themselves. The players will often be standing at a session as if ready to hop on a stage at the first opportunity and perhaps break into the Orange Blossom Special, the ultimate bluegrass fiddler's ego trip. An old-time jam might be from another planet. The musicians usually sit down to play and have stamina, happy to go around the same tune for 20 minutes without a solo in sight, enjoying the groove, the minute variations and shared experience. The tempos are slower than in bluegrass, determined by what a dancer would prefer rather than what would excite an audience. Fiddler Tommy Jarrell once described a tune as being a circle with neither a beginning nor an end. Old-time players at a session are virtually in a trance, and not a one would jump on the stage if it was offered to them. The session will stick to the same key for up to an hour, enabling fiddlers and banjo players to use the same tuning before eventually taking a break while everyone retunes to a different key. Again, I talked to Tatian Hargreaves about the difference she sees. Playing old-time tunes feels more internal to me. My body is softer and more relaxed, whereas in a bluegrass context, my body tends to be more upright as I think about projecting and pushing the sound forward. Old time is essentially folk music, with all the timeless values of community and tradition, each performer just a link in an endless chain. Like the Olympics was intended to be, old time is about the taking part, not the winning, and not everyone has to be a virtuoso. At the grassroots, the musicians may dress just as informally as the old-timers, but on the concert stage, you'll see sharp suits and polished boots. Focus, technique, ambition, and competition are at the core of bluegrass today, just as they were when Bill Monroe first took to the opera stage with his startling new lineup back in 1945.
Okay, are we back?
We are back.
Okay. What, Aaron, any comments on the video?
Yeah, that was super interesting. Like, I remember when we first started this, I had all those questions like, what's the difference? And, especially trying to put together like graphics for it. I really had to understand this was, this old time music. So yeah, that was a really great explanation.
It is a good one, and again, some people might disagree with it. I really like the way he did that. And incidentally, Chris, who put that together, the name of his site is the Fiddle Channel. And if someone is interested in learning to play the fiddle, you can actually go on that site, and he has a bunch of free beginner lessons, and it's just interesting. And it's kind of funny to have such a heavy British accent talking about our hillbilly country music, and but that's where it came from. That's where it originally came from, and the African influence made it what it is today. Mm-hmm. Back to the difference again, one of the big differences is old time music was really designed to dance to and to tap your feet to and to participate, not for a concert. So sometimes folks are, a little disappointed that the old time music isn't quite as entertaining, if you will, as bluegrass, but that's not what it was about. But if you do like to dance, there's no music like it, and you don't have to be a good dancer. I mean, dancing to bluegrass, it's usually a jig dance or a flat foot dance. And we're going to have some folks demonstrate that Friday and give you an opportunity to participate. So that's what that's all about. They mentioned Appalachians, and we're talking about our heritage. Well, this music that he was describing made its way over to the Ozarks, the southern Missouri and northern Arkansas, and into the Ouachitas. And there was some confusion about where the Ouachitas started and where the Ozarks stopped. And there's a lot of references to cities or towns in southern Arkansas that are in the Ouachitas, and they referred to them as being in the southern Ozarks. And again, I've mentioned this before. My theory is that, number one, they couldn't spell Ouachita, and number two, they didn't know how to pronounce it, so they just said, well, that's the southern Ozarks, and left it at that. So we have to kind of overcome that. But the music of the Ozarks, the music of Mountain View, was very much in our neck of the woods as it was up there. But thank goodness Mountain View and the state of Arkansas has preserved the music there. Okay. If we don't have any questions, or if you don't have any more comments or anything else we can talk about, that's about all I have, I think, unless there's something I've left out.
Not that I know of. I mean, I did want to just ask you a few things about the heritage. I mean, we're talking about the Arkansas Heritage Festival now, but you're on behalf of the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project. So, you talked about how we kind of started that. You started that with the library and the Cultural Alliance and a few other people. But I wanted to know what made you want to start the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project. Was it the preservation of this music that you love so much?
That's a good question. When I retired, I decided I wanted to do something entirely different than what I'd ever done. I'd never been a musician, and I was always a numbers guy. And I thought, well, by golly, I'm going to learn to play bluegrass banjo. So I bought a bluegrass banjo and went to Mountain View. And the bluegrass was okay, but I heard this group playing this music over on another porch, and it was delightful. And it turned out I said, what are y'all doing? And it's old time music. I couldn't get away from there. I left Mountain View, came home, sold my bluegrass banjo, and bought me an old time banjo, and I've been struggling with it ever since. And they have been so kind to me, everybody up there, and this band that I'm a participant in. They're very patient, showing me how to play the old time music. But preservation too, as I got into it, the history was, my wife told me if I would practice the banjo as much as I research and read about this stuff, I'd probably be a good banjo player. But I really enjoyed the reading about the struggles that these people went through. And, on Friday and Saturday night, they had to do something. And this music is where the music evolved. But I mean, it was like a struggle to put food on the table and stay alive. There were situations in our early days when things weren't safe, and we take a lot for granted today, but our ancestors went through a lot. And this is kind of, to me, a tribute to the folks that made America where we can enjoy it. And like I say, it seems like we take a lot of that for granted today. But that's the reason that I started it. And number two, it was a selfish reason, is nobody around. I couldn't find anybody in Hot Springs that played old time music. And I thought if I did this, maybe somebody would come out of the woodworks that played it that I could play with. And there's some great people that play, and I play with them, and I enjoy it very much. But the true old time is in Mountain View, and I just have to go back up there to get it.
I absolutely love that. I didn't know that you just completely switched gears when you retired. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I picked the banjo because the guitar had 6 strings and the banjo only has 5. And I thought, well, it's bound to be a little easier. Well,
right. Yeah. Logical, right? Okay. I just have one more question for you. This one might be a hard one.
Okay.
If you could have absolutely any performer, anybody, no questions asked, perform at like an Arkansas Highlands Folk Project, probably live event, because this music it's an experience live, who would you pick and why? This might be an impossible question.
No, it's not impossible.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to name this is that this may surprise you, because I think most everybody knows this person, and very few know that he's one of the most accomplished banjo players. Steve Martin, the comedian.
Really?
And he is a crossover. He started out playing bluegrass, and then he learned. He stumbled across old time, kind of like I did. He was already doing very well. Now when he started out as a comedian, he had a banjo in his act as a gag. I mean, he played, but he wasn't anything special. But he used it as part of his comedy act. And over the years, kind of as he grew and got older, and maybe as he started slowing down his comedian tours, he took the banjo seriously. He is actually recognized as and he plays with a bluegrass group, but he also plays a lot of, and he has albums out. He plays a lot of clawhammer banjo, the kind I'm trying to learn how to play. And plus, he's still got a great sense of humor. I would love to be able to, we would never be able to afford him, but I would love to have him come down here. And another one, though, just kind of is the band that's getting ready to play at Mountain View in October, the Hog Slop String Band. As far as watching a band, and they are very talented, but I mean, it is a show in itself. I mean, they're rowdy, they're noisy, or they're rowdy, they're raw, they're funny, they're but I've seen them in interviews, and you would think they were just a bunch of hooligans, and they're very devoted to the music, but they know how to entertain and make a crowd leave with a big smile on their face. So I'd love to get them here as well.
Well, that's awesome. Well, do you have anything else?
You know, I really don't think I do, but let me tell you, it's been a pleasure doing this with you, Aaron. And you did it, and for it to be your first time, you certainly did a good job.
Well, thank you. I'm no Paul, but he'll be back next time.
Okay, well, you did very well, and Paul too. I mean, y'all both have done so well, and again, the library just allowing this to happen is great. But thanks again. Oh, I will mention one other thing. I'm planning to take a little trip into Kentucky and West Virginia if conditions allow, and I'm going to try to do some field recording of the real deal in the hills of Kentucky and the hills of West Virginia, where a lot of this music originated, and bring some of that back to share with you guys.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll be around this weekend at the Arkansas Heritage Festival.
I will, and if anybody's out there and you happen to see me, please come up and say hello. Always glad to see you.
And don't miss Charlie's band. It's gonna be one to not miss.
Thank you. No, I think it probably will be, because the performers in the band are really good and experienced, and we have a good time. Let me tell you that.
Well, good. I imagine you do. I bet you have a good time everywhere you go.
Pretty much.
All right. It was great talking to you, Charlie.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.